What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer. With the recent news about Overwatch 2 having now been delayed and its new release date likely not being until 2023, I thought it would be worthwhile to make a video counting the cost, so to say, of what the community has had to pay, not in terms of money for the sequel itself, but in terms of new content that could have been added to Overwatch 1. Specifically, this comes down to new heroes, new maps, and other forms of new content additions and updates which Blizzard could have introduced to the original Overwatch 1, but instead have postponed due to their focus on Overwatch 2. So to start off, let's take a look at the most baseline, fundamental types of new content which Overwatch has historically gotten in the past, being new heroes, and new standard game mode maps, being maps for quick play and competitive. Prior to development on Overwatch 1 slowing down as Blizzard began to focus on Overwatch 2, the standard cycle of content additions saw us getting 3 new heroes and 3 new maps every year. Each of these two types of content had an alternating 4-month cycle, where every 2 months we would either be getting a new hero or a new map, thus making it where there was always either something new that had just come out fairly recently, or something we could look forward to in the not too distant future. However, in the latter half of 2019, we saw this cycle begin to slow down, to the point that now we've gone more than a year without a new hero and more than 2 years without a new standard map edition, so let's take a look at just how many maps and heroes we've missed out on over the past couple years. As of the time of me recording this video, if Blizzard had never deviated from their 3 heroes a year content release, we would have gotten 6 new heroes after Echo. And on top of that, we would have gotten 7 new maps following Havana. 6 new heroes and 7 new maps. That's enough heroes for 2 new heroes of each of the 3 roles, and enough maps for almost 2 of each of the 4 standard competitive game modes. All that content, gone. Nowhere to be seen. Presumably it'll be coming in Overwatch 2, but we don't even know that for sure, just because of all the other things that are being changed with the sequel. But it gets even more bleak when you consider the fact that Overwatch 2 is likely not going to be released until at least early 2023 at this point. So if we say Overwatch 2 launches January 1st, 2023, the most optimistic goal we can really expect at this point for it, by the time of Overwatch 2's launch, we will have missed out on 9 new hero releases and 11 new maps. 20 separate, significant content additions that had Blizzard just kept with its typical content release cycle and not focused on Overwatch 2 would have been added by that point in time. Now, I will admit that things always can change internally for a development team, and maybe they would have decided to slow down the rate of hero releases regardless of whether they're working on Overwatch 2 or not, so surely we can't say for certain we would have gotten this many heroes by that point in time, but just going by the consistent content release cycle we had for the first few years of Overwatch, it really puts into perspective just how much we've missed out by Blizzard shifting their focus from Overwatch onto Overwatch 2. However, if this in and of itself isn't disappointing enough to consider, what about all the other significant content additions and new features that are going to be added with Overwatch 2? I'm talking about the new updated engine, the new PvP game modes, and of course, the brand new, massively anticipated PvE. All of these are significant new additions to the game and franchise that so far Blizzard has kind of been selling as being something that they only really could have added with a proper Overwatch 2 sequel. But is that even really the case? Let's take a look at each of these new things individually and consider whether or not it would actually require a full-on sequel in order for it to be implemented. First up, the new PvP game modes, most notably being Push, which so far is actually the only new PvP game mode we've been shown, and I'm just going to be upfront with this one, there is no reason that it would require a separate Overwatch sequel in order to implement Push. Heck, I played the push game mode back at BlizzCon 2019. The team sizes were still 6v6, the heroes were balanced basically identically to what they were in the live version of the game back at that point in time, and the engine it was running on was presumably more or less the exact same engine the live version of the game was running on as well. Quite blatantly, it's obvious that Overwatch 2 isn't necessary for them to add push. So right off the bat, this new PvP game mode is not a justification for them needing to have a sequel. They could have added this to Overwatch 1 at any point in time, and I legitimately don't think there would have been any issues. Next up, how about the PvE? This is a huge selling point of Overwatch 2 and has been marketed as perhaps the biggest new aspect of the sequel. And while admittedly this is a pretty substantial content addition, just with all these story campaigns and different PvE modes and mechanics that are likely to be introduced with it, once again, I'm not convinced this would have actually required a sequel. I've talked about this in videos in the past, even as far back as BlizzCon 2019 when the PvE mode was first announced, but why couldn't Blizzard have just made the Overwatch PvE its own separate spin-off game? It doesn't even have to be as substantial as a separate game. It could just be a separate title, essentially, that you launch within the same Battle.net launcher that you currently launch Overwatch through. When you boot up Overwatch, it would give you the option. Would you like to go into Overwatch PvP or Overwatch PvE? Identically to what Fortnite was capable of doing back in 2018. Heck, even if Blizzard set it up where you had to pay for Overwatch PvE separately for Overwatch PvP, then just make it where you buy them separately and each is only available if you paid for that specific version of the game. Maybe you'd even get a discount if you already owned one and bought the other, thus encouraging people to get both. And of course, since they'd be running on the same engine and essentially just be two sides of the same game, all the cosmetics for all your favorite heroes would carry over between both the PvE and PvP sides, so that you could have whatever cool Tracer skin or Winston emotes you wanted in the PvE that you got years ago in the PvP. I'm sure there would be some technical hurdles when it comes to handling the game like this, but as with the new PvP game modes, surely this is something they could have done. Rather than focusing on Overwatch 2 being some big new sequel, they could have just focused on the PvE update, being this huge revolutionizing update to the game that would add a ton of new content, a ton of new ways to play the game, but still it would just essentially be an expansion of the existing Overwatch. And you know what? If they handled it that way, that would also be the perfect opportunity for them to implement the new game engine. From what we've seen so far, it seems like the Overwatch 2 PvE is going to end up requiring this new game engine they've developed in order to fully function with all the enemy AI and whatnot. So why not just have that same PvE expansion I mentioned earlier, but alongside it, implement a massive new engine update? They could quite literally make it its own huge event. Everyone would have to re-download Overwatch, essentially, which I guess would suck if you have a bad internet connection, but it's not much different than any of the other massive updates we've gotten in the past for different events and other content additions. This would just be a really big one that they'd let everyone know about beforehand so they could have a pre-download for it, and everyone would know to expect it and be prepared for it, and then on whatever time on the day they wanted to launch it, boom, PvE goes live, as does the new game engine for both the PvP and PvE sides of the game. And whoop-de-doo, they've essentially implemented Overwatch 2 into the base Overwatch 1 game, without needing to make a big deal and taking 4 years to develop it. However, there is one other change, which I will admit probably wouldn't necessarily work well in terms of just updating Overwatch 1 to include it, and that's the transition from 6v6 to 5v5. Just based on the logistics of implementing a change like this and all the massive hero balance changes, which we're clearly seeing as being necessary at this point when it comes to making this sort of change in team sizes, as well as the sort of hectic state it would bring with it as players have to adjust from 6v6 to 5v5, I'll honestly give Blizzard that one in that I don't think it would really work to just update Overwatch 1 with a 5v5 patch, because it would just be too jarring and too hectic and too difficult to balance of a change in order for them to do that. A change like 5v5 I do think would require some sort of big standalone sequel in order to pull off, but at the same time, we're not even really sure yet that 5v5 is going to be a good direction to take Overwatch. I've generally been trying to stay optimistic about 5v5 because I do recognize that there are a number of benefits it could bring, and it's certainly an interesting direction to take the game, but is it worth having 4 years of essentially no new content in Overwatch just to have a big sequel that can justify the addition of 5v5? Yeah, I'm gonna say no on that one. And especially when you consider all these other changes I've already talked about, the new heroes, the new maps, the new game modes, the new engine updates, heck, even other random little junk like clan systems, which is something that's kind of been leaked as being a feature in Overwatch 2, as well as just the hero redesigns and profile update and other random little updates that are nice quality of life things but don't ultimately amount to much. All of those easily could have been done in just Overwatch 1, just through gradual procedural updates that they just implement slowly over time as they work their way forward and just build up these new systems and features that they slowly implement into the existing game. Maybe back in 2018 that seemed less appealing than just stockpiling all this new content and all these new features into a separate, concise sequel game, but in hindsight, now that we're coming to the end of 2021, I think it's pretty safe to say that things would have turned out a lot better for the Overwatch community if they had just gone with the gradual updates for Overwatch 1. And speaking of which, let's consider what things might have looked like if Blizzard hadn't gone with the Overwatch 2 route and instead just focused on supporting Overwatch 1. Come with me, dear viewer, back to a time that never was. Back to BlizzCon 2019 in the timeline without Overwatch 2 and instead just updates for Overwatch 1. Imagine, BlizzCon 2019, new hero released. It's Echo. She isn't pushed back to April of 2020, instead she's launched right there at BlizzCon, like every past hero before her had been. But beyond just the new hero Echo, Blizzard also announces the brand new game mode, Push. Not only do they show off gameplay of this new Push PvP game mode, but also they showcase 3 new maps for that mode, and even have a playable demo for people who attended the convention where they could actually play the new game mode as we saw back in the actual BlizzCon 2019. Then, over the months following BlizzCon, not only has Echo already been added to the live game, but Blizzard continues to give us gradual updates talking about the new PvP game mode Push, ultimately culminating in the release of the new game mode and 3 new maps to correspond with it sometime in early 2020. Not only would this add a brand new substantial competitive way to play the game, but also a massive content drop in terms of the 3 new maps designed for it. But that's not all. Then later that year, perhaps around Anniversary 2020, a clan system is announced and implemented a month later. This new clan system allows people to group up with their friends and acquaintances in order to get special cosmetic items exclusive to their clan, in addition to other sorts of bonuses and maybe even a corresponding tournament system for playing with the people in your clan. Then comes BlizzCon 2020. Once again, we get a new hero released. The 3rd new hero, I might add, for 2020, as there were 2 other heroes added after BlizzCon 2019, thus bringing the hero total at that point up to 35. But in addition to that 35th new hero, Blizzard also announces at BlizzCon 2020 the brand new PvE Overwatch spin-off game. A huge update that'll bring with it a whole new way of playing Overwatch with the same heroes you love, in addition to a brand new supercharged version of the Overwatch engine that'll be launching alongside it. At BlizzCon 2020 itself, we get a playable demo for those who attended, where they get to actually try out a sort of demo PvE mission, and they get us hyped for this new content by promising a bunch of story development with these corresponding story campaigns. Then, over the following 6 months, Blizzard continues to tease the PvE with various updates and development progress reports, and more teasers about the story that's going to be revealed with it. Then, finally, around Anniversary 2021, we get it. The massive PvE update. A new game engine is implemented for both PvP and PvE, and the brand new Overwatch PvE now shows up in the Battle.net launcher. Players can select either of the 2 modes, whether they want to keep playing competitive PvP or team up with friends in the PvE side, and with it comes a ton of new PvE playable missions and story content. It would be a massive event. Everyone who's ever played Overwatch in the past would be enticed and come back to check out the brand new story and PvE PvE content, and it would be a massive update with a ton of content to get people super hyped about Overwatch again. And then, later that year, BlizzCon 2021. What sort of new content would we get there? Honestly, who knows? We'd get a new hero for sure, thus bringing the total number of heroes in-game up to 38, but beyond that, who knows what other sort of big projects and new features for Overwatch Blizzard might be working on at that point. Unburdened by the development hell that Overwatch 2 clearly is at this point, they would have gradually given us major updates to the game over time leading up to that point, which not only would have preserved many of the players and people who were interested in Overwatch but have given up while waiting for Overwatch 2, but also likely introduced even more people to the game and franchise by catching people's interest with big updates like the push game mode, and especially PvE. But alas, that isn't the timeline we live in. We live in the timeline where Blizzard decided to make Overwatch 2 and not give us any substantial content in Overwatch 1 leading up to it. The timeline where the Overwatch community has withered away to a mere fraction of what it was previously, and reached a point where, honestly, if Blizzard released a new hero in Overwatch 1 right now, I don't think it would even have much of an impact. We are living in the timeline where Overwatch is so far gone that the only thing that can save it now is Overwatch 2. This massive project that Blizzard has dumped all their resources into for the past few years, and from what we know at the time being, is still nowhere near completion. Honestly, I hate leaving a video on such a bleak, pessimistic note, but I would, however, love to hear your thoughts on all this in the comments down below. Do you think Blizzard made a mistake by focusing on Overwatch 2 instead of gradually updating Overwatch 1? Or are you more excited by the idea of Overwatch 2 being a tremendous content drop of a sequel? Either way, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, hit up that bell icon, and come join my Discord server. And special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible. If you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. And otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer, signing off.